Okay, this last lesson in this booklet is a review lesson, and then you would be writing an assessment. So by the end of this video, I would like you to write down on a piece of paper or type it up. If your class teachers are fine with it, then obviously, they will be fine with it. So just send that essay their way if you are a year 11 student revising and would like for them to mark it. And obviously, if you're in year 10, you would have sat this anyway now. So this is just the kind of knowledge grid that you would be revising from. Again, a few revision sort of tasks that I would like you to do. Work your way through it. It's about everything that you would have studied so far in the Renaissance period. And then once you've finished, so all of those knowledge grids, you then have your question. So I'm going to talk you a little bit about the question and how I would kind of essentially want you to answer it. So the question itself is: there was little progress in medicine in Britain during the period 1500 to 1700. How far do you agree? So you need to think, do I think in the Renaissance period there was progress? Do I think there was a little bit of progress? There was some progress? There was a lot of progress? Significant progress? Fair progress? Where are you? And whenever you think of a judgment question, you need to start picturing that you are looking at let's say a continuum. So a line. On one side is disagree completely, one side is agree, and then I want you to think, where are you on that line? So even if you want to think about in percentages, 0% is I absolutely disagree with the statement, 100% is I 100% agree with it. You need to think, number one, the first step when you see judgment question is think, where am I? So for me, I might say, you know what, there was a lot of individuals that changed things. You've got Thomas Sydenham, you've got Vesalius, you've got Harvey. Hospitals have changed. There's been some significant developments there. Communication has completely changed. But people's ideas didn't change. Bloodletting continued for some reason. The practicalities of bloodletting continued. And you've got King Charles and his treatments. That's a big example of things not improving. You have the idea of the Great Plague shows that actually not a lot of people still understood, because people were still relying on the idea of God to heal and not using kind of medical sort of backing for that. So for me, I might say, actually, I'm at 70% here. I think that there was a significant amount of progress, but not completely, not at 100%. Now, regardless of what you believe, you need to picture you are a scale. You need to think. The whole point of a judgment question is you need to be able to evaluate. And what that means is you need to show me two sides and then really show me why you are arguing your side. And that's the point of a judgment question. Now, this judgment question is marked out of 20, so 16 marks, and then 4 marks for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Now, I'm going to keep it over here because every time you get a sort of assessment question in a judgment question, this is the big one in paper 1, you are given 2 points. Now, it says here, so you get a choice of question 5 or question 6. In the exam paper, they give you 2 questions. You pick one. Now, once you've picked one, the one that you feel most confident in answering, and you need to make sure you understand that analysis is important in this exam. So it's great if you have knowledge. There's still, a lot of marks that do go to knowledge, but your analysis, you're explaining why that is progress. If your question's progress, in this case it is important for you to make sure you get those high marks. Now, the 2 points that it gives you, so in this case it's given us bloodletting and purging. So it says there was little progress in medicine. So it says you can use bloodletting and purging, so thinking about, how they've continued. You can use work of Thomas Sydenham, but if you only use those bullet points, you are capped, okay? You are only capped at a certain mark, and you are not doing yourself a favour. You need to write down more information. So you need to, at this point in the exam, as soon as you've seen the question, maybe just jot down here some more information that you can use. So for me, I might write down, so I might write down, okay, well, I know more individuals. I can write about Vesalius, Harvey. I can talk about hospitals. I can talk about communication, printing press, Royal Society, transference, whatever you want to say, you can just write down all these things. Don't know where that's gone. It's odd. But you can write down all those things that you know, just so that you are not capping yourself over here. Okay, some of them have gone, but it's fine. So once you've done that, so I'm going to help you here with the planning here. So what we've given you in your booklet is 2 sides. So number 1, you need to think, which side are you? And number 2, you need to make sure that you understand what more to say. Because in this assessment, you need to be writing an introduction, a paragraph with your point of view, a paragraph with your against point of view, another paragraph with your point of view, so whether you agree or disagree. So if I said I'm 70%, that means I disagree personally. I think there was a lot of progress. So I might be, disagree, agree, disagree. And then a conclusion. Now, conclusion, if you don't obviously have this time to do it, then don't do it. I believe it's 28 minutes for this question. Now, I'm going to break down what you need to write in the structure. So this is the structure that we're going through. And then we're going to talk a little bit about that question. So in our introduction, I want you to make sure that you are using the structure, although, nevertheless. And the way this works, and your teachers would have spoken about to you, your although is the one you do not agree with, and nevertheless is the one you agree with. So you would say something like, although there was limited progress because treatments continued that were used in the Middle Ages, such as bloodletting, nevertheless, I think there was significant progress because the developments made by individuals such as Vesalius, Harvey, and Sydenham. Now, after you've done your although nevertheless, I then want you to give a criteria. Now, we sometimes call this a success criteria, we sometimes call it a valid criteria. Now, when you think about a success criteria or valid criteria, what you're actually doing is you're thinking about, well, how do I measure whatever the question's asking? So how do I measure progress in medicine? Now, when it comes to progress in medicine, we've actually given you a criteria to work with. So you might say, you might even state it, you might say, progress, I will be measuring progress by seeing whether individuals and developments have, and then the criteria we've already given you is simples. Now, you cannot just write down simples like that, okay? Do not do that. Seriously, don't do it, because your examiner will not know what simples is, okay? What you need to do is you need to say whether individuals and developments have saved lives, improved medical knowledge, and increased and benefited the public. Okay, so for me, I'm just putting 3. You need to revise what simples is and put in, as much as you can. We've gone over simples a few times in these videos, so have a look for it. And then you might reinstate your judgment. So you might say, therefore, I find that there was significant progress in medicine in the Renaissance because the developments in medical knowledge, and I know there's a few typos in there, and communication improved the understanding of the anatomy and improved treatments. Okay, I might say something like that, but that's obviously however you want to sort of argue that. So that would be, for me, a good intro. An intro, only the top marks, you can only really get top marks if you are giving me a criteria and then explaining that criteria in each paragraph. Now I'm just going to make this a bit smaller just so I can carry on writing. Now these paragraphs, they work in the same way, so I'm only going to write for one of them. And I'm going to put down here, after I fix this, that the structure that we are using is petal. Now you should know what petal stands for. This is for all three, so if you don't, that is point, evidence. This meant that, as a result, and then your link. Now, in your as a result, that's where I would like you to refer to criteria, okay? Because you could say something like, there was progress in the Renaissance period because of increased communication that allowed knowledge to spread. For example, Royal Society, printing press, Vesalius's fabric of the human body. This meant that people had a better understanding of the anatomy. As a result, this would have improved medical knowledge for student doctors who would then use that knowledge further to make more developments or use their understanding of the anatomy and dissection to give accurate treatments and surgery, whatever you want to say. So make sure you are using petal for your structure, and if you want the top marks, you need to refer back to that criteria. So that is for all of these points here. Like I said, I'm not going to go for each one, just really making sure that you are giving both sides of both views, otherwise you are capped as well. Now, our conclusion, you need to really make sure that you are, use although, nevertheless, again, okay? It's the best way to show that you understand the idea of being that scale that I showed you earlier. If you're going to pick some evidence, then only pick your best bit of evidence. Do not need new info, okay? All you're doing is reinstating your point of view, okay? And showing that you understand both sides, but really explaining and analysing why your side ultimately makes more sense, or, makes more sense to you. So it's 10 marks on analysis, 6 marks on evidence. So your this meant that, and your as a result is truly the most important part here in explaining, why that shows progress or no progress. So when we think about this question specifically, you can pause this if you'd like to give you some points for each one. So on the one hand, whichever one you are saying, you may say there was little progress because of continuance of Galen's ideas and superstitious remedies. However, on the other hand, progress was made during the Renaissance because of Thomas Sydenham, a work of Vesalius. You could say training of doctors, improvements in hospitals. You could say communication. You could use King Charles as an example here, bloodletting. It could be endless, okay? So you need to pick out some points. What I'd like you to first do is write down your intro over here. So I think there was little or progress or significant progress. Circle it or cross it out. Write down fair, some, limited, whatever. Write down why. I also want you to add here your valid criteria like I did on the slide. And then attempt to plan the question. Find your evidence that you have from your booklet. And then answer this question. Okay, thank you.